Hello and good day everyone. My name is Palona Iffa Michael. Today I will present about Ijarah Thumma Al-Bai, also known as AITAB. This is an important contract in Islamic finance, widely used in Islamic banking for asset financing. So what is Ijarah Thumma Al-Bai? Ijarah Thumma Al-Bai is a contract that combines two separate agreements. Ijarah, which is leasing, and Bai, which is sale. Under this contract, a lessor leases an asset to a lessee, and the lessee is given the option to purchase the asset at a predetermined price at the end of the lease period. This structure allows clients to acquire assets without needing full capital upfront while remaining Sharia compliant. Next, let's discuss the key elements or pillars of this contract. There are 5 main pillars. The first pillar is Sikha, which refers to the offer and acceptance for both leasing and later sale. This must be clear and separate. The second pillar is Aqidain, or parties involved. The bank acts as the lessor and later acts as the seller, while the customer acts as the lessee and later acts as the buyer. The third pillar is the asset. The asset must be permissible, clearly identified, usable and fully owned by the bank before it can be leased out. The fourth pillar is the price element. Ujrah, which is the rental amount during the lease period, and Tahman, which is the selling price that the customer will pay at the end. The last element is Wa'ad, which is a promise by the customer to buy the asset after the lease period. The promise is usually binding to ensure the bank is protected from loss. So let's see how this Ijarah Thumma Al-Bai contracts works. First, the customer selects the asset they want, such as a car. Second, the bank purchases the asset from the dealer. After owning it, the bank leases the asset to the customer under the Ijarah contract. Next step, during the lease period, the customer uses the asset and pay monthly rental to the bank. This payment covers the bank's cost and profit. After that, although the customer uses the asset, ownership remains with the bank. Because of this, the bank carries ownership-related risks, such as major structural defect. The customer, however, handles normal maintenance and day-to-day care. Next, once the lease period finishes, the customer exercises the purchase promise, which is Wa'ad. The bank and customer then enter into a separate sale contract. And the last step is the asset ownership is transferred to the customer and the AITAB contract ends. However, there are some related issues that need attention. The first issue is late payment charges. These charges must follow Sharia guidelines. They cannot be treated as profit for the bank and should only cover the actual loss faced by the bank when the customer pays late. The second issue is maintenance responsibility. In theory, the bank is responsible for major repairs that relate to ownership, while the customer handles normal wear to tears. However, in practice, customers sometimes end up paying for repair that should be the bank's responsibility, which can cause Sharia concerns. The third issue is early settlement or IBRA. When a customer settles the financing earlier than the agreed period, the bank must give a fair rebate. Problem may arise if the bank delays, miscalculates, or does not give enough rebate. The fourth issue is the asset ownership requirement. The bank must truly own the asset before leasing it to the customer. If the bank does not take real ownership, the contract becomes invalid from a Sharia perspective. The fifth issue is documentation. The Ijarah contract and the buy contract must be separate and clearly documented. If the documentation is poor or mixed together, it can cause Sharia non-compliance because it may look like both contracts are combined. Finally, there is the issue of risk of damage or total loss. Takaful coverage is required, and it must be clearly stated who bear the risk at each stage, whether it is the bank or the customer. If this is not clearly explained, disputes can happen. Finally, let's talk about why Ijarah Thumma Al-Bai is important. First, it provides a Sharia-compliant alternative to conventional loans. This means it avoids riba or interest and follows Islamic finance principle. Second, it enables customers to finance assets like car, machinery, and property in a structured and ethical way. Instead of taking an interest-based loan, the customer can lease first and buy later. Third, it ensures a clear ownership structure. The bank owns the asset during the lease period, and the customer only becomes the full owner after completing the purchase. This clarity prevents disputes. Fourth, it helps reduce uncertainty and risk, which in Islamic term is called gharar. The terms and obligations are clear, so both parties know exactly what they are responsible for. Finally, AITAB supports ethical financial practice. It promotes fairness, transparency, and accountability in financial transactions, which is one of the main goals of Islamic finance. In conclusion, Ijarah Thumma Al-Bai is a practical and Sharia-compliant solution for asset financing. By leasing first and buying later, both the bank and the customer enjoy security, clarity, and fairness. Thank you.